Oh man. I don't know. Ayo, what's up, Killas? It is your final girl, Mel, and this is my Killer Podcast, and today we are going to be doing a review on Halloween Ends, and I am not looking forward to it. What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me today. If you are new here, I am not only on YouTube, I am also on Instagram, Letterboxd, TikTok. I have a Patreon and a Discord group called The Movie Room. Hit the description box below and follow me on all my socials. All right, guys, like I said, today we're going to be talking about Halloween Ends. I went to see it this last Saturday. I just want to preface this review with, I am a casual Halloween fan. I know that's going to hurt some of you. It's going to break some of your hearts, but I am a casual Halloween fan. I generally tend to fall somewhere in the middle, whether I like them or not, just because this isn't my number one all-time favorite franchise in the world. I do like the movies. I appreciate them for what they are. They are good, fun slasher flicks, and I like to watch them around Halloween, but that's usually as far as it gets with me. What I am going to do is tell you how I feel about this movie. And in case you missed it, I did do a review on Killas. I will try and remember to link that in the description box below so you guys can check that one out as well. Halloween Ends is a 2022 horror thriller. It lasts about an hour and 51 minutes, and it was directed by David Gordon Green. Stars all of our favorites from Killas: Jamie Lee Curtis, James Jude Courtney, Andy Matchak, Nick Castle, and Kyle Richards. And also the beloved Rowan Campbell. We will talk about him in a minute. From what I understand, the reviews of this movie so far are kind of up and down. I've heard more reviews of people absolutely hating this movie, but I have also heard the occasional, I absolutely loved it. So, can we say that this movie is maybe a little divisive? Just a little. I kind of see this movie split up into 3 different parts. So that's how I'm going to do my review. And I'm going to warn you, this is a full spoiler review because there's no way I am able to accurately describe my thoughts and feelings about this movie without getting into the very specific and ridiculous details. So without any further ado, let's get into this review. Ends opens with the introduction of a brand new character, and his name is Corey Cunningham. And he goes through a traumatic experience that inevitably shapes his future. After being asked to babysit a young boy, in a weird twist of events, Corey becomes a possible murderer and the young boy a victim of a tragic accident. Then from there, we jump 4 years into the future. I've heard a lot of people talk about, was the 4-year jump even really necessary? But honestly, when it comes down to it, I think it probably was, because in this movie, it's supposed to be the epic end of Michael Myers. It's supposed to be the battle between Laurie Strode and her aggressor. So she needs to be in prime shape. And at the end of Killas, she almost died, right? So 4 years later, she is in her prime form for battle, but it also allows us to see Corey settled into what his life is truly like after the incident that happened. And it's not a good one, let me tell you. So this is what I like to call part 1, the sniveling crybaby. So when we meet Corey after the 3 to 4 year jump, he is just worthless. He is a sniveling crybaby. He can't get over the trauma of the events that happened. The people of the town have turned away from him, and he cries like all the time. All the time. I found the first part of this movie to be incredibly annoying. It took way too long to set up this story. I feel like they could have done it in a much smaller chunk. So that was one thing about this movie I did not like. The pacing was terrible. Part 2 is what I like to call the descent into madness. This group of kids that chase Corey throughout the whole movie toss him over a bridge, and he ends up in the sewers being drug in there by Michael Myers himself, who then we find out has been living in the sewers this entire time. And for some reason, Michael Myers doesn't kill Corey. He wakes up and they have a face-to-face moment. And you get like this brief flashback of Corey and the kid in the beginning and the situation that ensued there. And then Michael Myers just doesn't kill Corey after that. Corey is able to leave the sewer unscathed, because this doesn't fall into the normal Halloween Michael Myers scenarios where he lets people live and Michael Myers has thoughts and feelings. Like, normally he's just this robotic monster up until this point. Or you can have a little deeper thought into the situation, and maybe Michael let Corey live because he had seen that he is capable or could be capable in the future of horrific things, and Michael might be able to use that to his advantage, because if you remember this scene, it starts off with Corey Cunningham and Michael Myers battling it out, and Michael's losing. He's very weak. We are to assume that he's weak because he hasn't killed anybody, and killing people is where he gets his strength. Even though the homeless man specifically says that Michael drags bodies into the sewer from time to time. Plot hole, maybe just a little. After this, the slow descent into madness starts. Corey kills his first victim, which happens to be that homeless man. And then after that, every person that he meets that spits in his face because of the murder of the child or whatever ends up on his kill list. He is slowly descending into the madness. Then he meets Laurie Strode's granddaughter, Allison, who then becomes his love interest, or his Laurie Strode, if you are following me here. And then we are now deep in the middle of part 2, which is basically a love story. So we have two situations happening. We have Corey descending into madness, but he is also falling in love with Allison. All of that is fine, but it's still taking way too fucking long. We don't even see Michael Myers in this movie until it is almost deep in the meat of the story. It's like halfway through the movie already, and we are just now being introduced to Michael and where he has been these last 4 years and what has been happening to him. This being Halloween ends, it should be an epic battle from beginning to end. Michael Myers is almost an afterthought at this point. And then we jump into part 3, where all of the greatness happens. And I am calling this Midnight Madness. And I am ripping that off from David Gordon Green himself. This is where the movie goes hog wild. Shit hits the proverbial fan, if you will. Corey Cunningham and Michael Myers are teaming up as a duo, going out and serial slaughtering people to epic proportions. Why? I don't know. There's so much about this movie that I have no idea why the decisions that were made are being made. I'm certainly confused, but I'm not hating this part of the movie. The third part of the movie is my favorite. All the shit goes down. There's gore lore here. The kills are fantastic. The gore is amazing. They have some really great practical effects. And herein lies one of my favorite parts of the movie, and that is the epic death scene of the DJ. The only reason why I really loved this part was because it showed how brutal and how far Corey has really come at this point, but also showcasing some of the great practical effects. This kill was awesome. This poor man's face gets slammed into a desk to the point where it is breaking and falling apart. And then Corey comes in with the scissors and lops off his tongue, which then flies onto a record player. And we get a little small bit of campy humor when the record is continuing to spin and the needle is bumping over the tongue every time it goes around. Finally, where we get our conclusion to the Laurie Strode and Michael Myers epic saga. It took all the way till the end for them to finally come face to face and battle it out in this epic fashion that we've been waiting for the entire movie. The movie kind of ends with the epic kill of Michael Myers. They strap him to the hood of a car, they drive him to the junkyard where Corey Cunningham was working, and they throw him into a trash compactor to obliterate his body into a bazillion pieces. And then that's how it ends. That's how the epic story of Laurie Strode and Michael Myers ends. All right, now that we talked about the movie in its like entirety, I apologize about that. I wasn't intending on doing that, but man, I am like, the controversy in my brain about this movie is to epic proportions. Let's clear up some things about it. I did read an article posted by Entertainment Weekly with David Gordon Green, and he did answer a few questions. So the main question being, why Corey Cunningham? Why this edition of a brand new character on the last installment in the Halloween franchise? Or trilogy if you're only counting the last 3 movies. And he did explain he wanted to get new perspective of the original characters in that town and how that town plays within the story of Michael Myers. This story was told in Kills a little bit on how the town has been affected by Michael Myers. I mean, am I wrong? Evil dies tonight. You know what I mean? He also wanted to show how new trauma, being Corey, can be introduced into this town and become an infection because of the trauma that it faced with Michael Myers. He also wanted to introduce different kinds of kills into the franchise. Up to this point, we had Michael Myers wielding a knife in somewhat of a precision type way. He wanted to introduce kills that were a bit more clumsy and not as calculated and a little messy, and I feel like he did succeed in this. But he also said he wanted a Midnight Madness type of movie. He wanted the kills to be crazy brutal and gory, and he also succeeded in that, if you ask me. He did go on to say that he was inspired by other 80s movies. Christine, Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker, Blood Rage, and Bad Taste. He drew all of his influences from these movies and put them into ends. But to me personally, if you're trying to make an epic conclusion of the Laurie Strode Michael Myers story, this is what you did, I feel like he missed the mark. Why was he entertaining new ideas and nuances in the last installment of a trilogy or a franchise or a saga? It makes no sense, right? Or does it? I wanted a battle royale. I wanted, from beginning to end, a Laurie Strode Michael Myers battle to the death. I wanted it 100 miles an hour all the way through the whole movie until the end, where ultimately Laurie kills Michael, right? That's what everybody wanted. I can't blanket everybody. That's what I want. So essentially, I wanted kills for ends. You know what I mean? If we could have taken the veracity and vigor of kills and put it in ends, but instead of having the town be the antagonist in kills and just made it about Michael and Laurie, and then had it end this way with the trash compactor, that would have been amazing. That would have been a perfect way to end this. This needed to be epic. It needed to be so fucking out there, tragically glorified, serial slaughtery way. You know what I mean? It needed to be bonkers. And it just wasn't. It wasn't bonkers. It was like trying to tell a different story for some reason. Here are my final thoughts about this movie. Either this was a really painstakingly handcrafted tale with the intent to end one saga and start a new one, or this movie was the victim of terrible writing with multitudes of plot holes. Hit me in the comments below and let me know, what do you think? Because honestly, it could be either. This whole movie pretty much revolved around Corey Cunningham. But why? If not to start another story. Laurie and Michael were just afterthoughts in this movie. You could have easily just plucked Michael Myers out of this movie and just pretended like he didn't exist and replace Laurie Strode with something shiny and new. And this would have been a pretty good little slasher flick. Call it something different. The story of Corey Cunningham. I don't fucking know. So what does that mean? Does that mean that Corey Cunningham could ultimately become some new shape of evil within new installments coming down the road? Was this whole movie a setup for a new Michael Myers? I don't know anything. Nobody knows nothing. This movie could just simply be a victim of a really crushed and disjointed story written terribly with many plot holes. What do you guys think? Hit me in the comments below and let me know. What do you think about this movie? Do you think it's the end or do you think it's the beginning? Because it honestly could be either. Now, did I like this movie? I don't know. I didn't particularly enjoy it as a Halloween movie, no. Had it been a standalone slasher movie where Michael Myers and Laurie Strode didn't exist within the story, I probably would have thought it was a decent little slasher flick. It had great performances. Rowan Campbell did an amazing job. His performance was outstanding. The actual plot, no, it was garbage. It's garbage because it left more questions than answers. Sometimes that's good in a story or in a movie, to leave the movie with questions and then have you think upon it for days. So I know I am gonna get not great feedback from people for not taking a stand, and that is not my way of pleasing the masses. I am not trying to please everybody. I am not sitting here and telling you I absolutely loved the story in fear that I'm gonna get backlash on the people who hated it. And I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I absolutely hated the movie because I am in fear of the people who absolutely loved it. No, I don't give a shit. Was I thoroughly entertained when I was watching the movie? Yeah. So I don't really know what I think about this one. No, I don't know. All right, guys, unfortunately, much like ends, that's how I'm gonna end this review. I don't know. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you want to help support me and my channel, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and kill that bell like Michael Myers. Share me with your friends. If they want to hear a very convoluted and ridiculous review of Halloween Ends. If you'd like to go above and beyond and help me even more, y'all gone over to my Patreon and see what's happening over there. It just helps keep my dream alive, yourselves entertained, these beautiful lights on in this creepy building. My hair has gone fucking crazy, just like this movie. But until the next time we gather, have a killer Halloween. Peace.